Hi, this is Stan. Well, this tunnel is not the Pirates of the Caribbean, but it should be a very cool addition to my railroad here. And when I'm not operating trains, this will serve as a car barn and keep my equipment out of the weather. So let's get busy and build this. So here's the space. This is where I've been parking the train right now. I've got a battery charger there that I plug in the little electric mule, and I want to construct the arches for this tunnel out on the driveway and measure them, bring them in here, put them in place, connect them, and then put the roofing on top. And I originally thought about making it about 16 feet long that would hold an entire train under the cover, the protective cover of the roof. But in order to do that, I'd have to enclose that gas meter, and I don't want to do that. So we'll make it roughly 12 feet long, and that should keep just about everything out of the weather. I may have to set a car or two off to the side, but that's fine. Well, here's a rough diagram, sort of a profile. Here's the block wall, here's the house wall. Track is here, and although I don't really have to have this thing tall enough for me to walk into, it should be tall enough that I can stoop a little bit and then go in and care for any derailments or storage or other issues that need to be taken care of. So I don't want to crawl in on all fours. So there will be some vertical supports and then this broken arch here across the top. So my first job will be to make 3 of these profiles. And if you could imagine, this is kind of a rough sketch, but this angle here, that's 90 degrees, but that's going to be split into 2 cuts. So each cut would be 45 and 45 to make our 90, but since I'm mitering them, then it's half of that. So each cut here would be 22.5 degrees, and that should give me the slope that I need. And here the splice, got some 2x4s, some connecting bits, and some of these corrugated metal panels that I'm going to use for the roof. Well, there's sort of a roughed in layout out on the driveway, and come to find out, those galvanized panels are actually 26 inches wide, and I was figuring on 24 inches. So it gives me a skosh more room, and I'm not very tall, so there might actually be room enough for me to almost stand up in the very center, although that's not absolutely necessary. But I certainly won't have to be crouched over like Gollum. And now that I'm checking, wow, might not be a bad time for a little nap. The weather's beautiful today. Well, actually, cutting this out is really easy because we knew ahead of time that each angle was going to be 22.5 degrees. So I set my chop saw up for that, and then I simply measured for the gaps. So I want one panel to fit on each of these sides, so they had to be 26, and then whatever was left over just happened to be 17.25 on the top. That allowed me to put one corrugated panel and bend the 2 edges down to give me a little better rainproofing. I'm going to use these strong ties to bind them together, and then we'll make 2 more of these. Well, it kind of actually looks like the drawing. Sometimes the plan does come together. All right, let's make 2 more. Well, let's level and plumb things up. I'm going to put some masonry underneath the posts, and then we'll tie everything together with some stringers. There's most of the framing in place, And you can see I started to put a couple of those corrugated metal panels up in, and you kind of get the idea of how the roof is going to be formed. Alright, it's all framed in, and I've got the galvanized sheeting screwed in for the roof. So what I think I'll do now is just dress up the front and back fascia with some cedar planking. And I think that dresses it up nicely. Well, I can hang up my power cord and my charger, and I think we're ready to go. Well, I cracked. I think I'm going to go ahead and put some doors on this tunnel and train barn or train shed. So I picked up some really thin plywood, some cheapo stuff, and some 1x3s. I had a piece of cardboard laying around, so I'm going to use this as a template to mark the opening, and that way I can build the doors here on the driveway and I don't have to build them out on the side of the house. Okay, there are the two door halves. You can see it's a split down the middle. That'll help me in the opening of the door, and it also helped me getting home the sheets of plywood in my car. This is pretty crummy plywood. I mean, it was like 22 bucks a sheet for 4x8, so T111 would have been nice, but it was really expensive and quite heavy. So we'll see how long this lasts. Okay, all the little trim pieces are cut. Got to screw them in there with some deck screws. Then we'll have to mount our hinges. And we got the hinges on. So let's see if this thing actually works. And if it does, then we got to make another one. All right, it's on. I had to adjust it slightly and mess with the trim a little bit so that it would clear the gas meter. But it is screwed in and it seems to work. So I think I have stretched your patience enough on this particular project. I'm going to say that's it. I've got to build one more for the back, and then I'll probably put a little bit of exterior paint on there just to give it a little weather protection. Well, there we go. A couple of coats of stain. I think that looks better. And I think I will not paint the cedar. I will just let that age. Who knows? I might even put a light bulb in there and give me a place to have my early morning coffee before sunrise. Well, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. This is Stan, and I'll see you right here next time.